again. This is a Monday, and this is Michael Lodge. I am the business advisor. Glad you're here. Hope you had a great weekend. I was looking out and watching what was happening in my backyard and in the side of my house in front of the house. And I was amazed that within one day how fast leaves change colors. I had bright green leaves one day, yellow leaves the next day. I haven't been out to see what they're at this morning. They might be all gone by now. No, probably get a darker yellow, and then finally they begin falling. I just got from outside, came in from outside, I should say, and I was raking up the leaves, and there was a lot. I have these pathways that go out under the trees, and they go out to kind of like a sitting area where I can go out and read and just kind of relax during the day or read a book or just watch nature itself. But I'm amazed at how fast leaves have fallen. I've had to rake all the paths so that it could fall some more. I guess is what you want to say. Listen, this morning I had a conversation with a friend. And we were talking about schools, and we were going back and forth, and what happens at schools, and the academia, and how people are hired, and everything. And he mentioned the school, and I disagreed with him, and I said, no, I don't agree with that. That school's a good school. And I based it upon my own experience in hiring people from that school and from that vicinity and from the entire state, as a matter of fact, when I had my staffing company and we were hiring and placing people in all different positions, from med techs to, all types of situations and job openings that needed to be filled. So I kind of knew what I was talking about that school, and he got mad. He got upset. And it's the first time I've ever had a friend do this, but this time a friend did do it. And he says, I'm not going to talk to you about this anymore, and he hung up on me. I find that also that happens with political conversations too, where it's one-sided. Their side is right. Their position is right. And they call you a bunch of names, and they block you, or they delete you. That happens in political talk too. But to see it happen within friends, and I've seen it happen also on social media where things are being discussed, and it could be the liveliest things, and somebody gets ticked off, and then they block the whole group, or they block that individual, or they just leave the group, or whatever the conversation was. And they display their temper. I hate the word temper, but it's there. Now, I'm going to tell you flat out, I used to have a tremendous temper. Especially when I was running all these businesses all at one time, my temper flared. And it wasn't because of personal hate for that individual. It was because of the situation that happened around the whole group of individuals or the whole process. And I would lose it. Now, over the years, I have learned to tame my temper. And I've learned to control it. And it's so amazing because now when I'm in mediation, I'm trying to control two people's sets of tempers. But the one thing that I always learned, and I read it this morning because immediately when this happened, I thought, what should I know about temper? And people losing their tempers and losing their cools. And I have preached this very same doctrine so many times before. When people are making these arguments and they're heated and they're calling you names and they're calling you all kinds of profanity. And I found that this is the truth in every single case. And there's a saying. And it goes, lose your temper and you lose your fight. Lose your temper and you lose your argument. Lose your temper and you lose respect. I see so many people who know that their argument isn't sound. And instead of stopping and thinking, they lose it. I have seen whole friendships destroyed because of temper. And a lot of times when individuals have lost their temper, they've also lost it because of their ego. They must be right all the time. Now, when that happened this morning, I just remained quiet. I just was silent. Let him express his opinions, but then he was gone. It's when he was gone, when he just hung up, that's probably when I thought, okay, he lost his temper. But then I had to ask the question, how many times in friendship are you going to allow this to happen? Do you just forgive and just override it? But if you don't say something, if you don't do something, he'll lose his temper or her temper again. So what do you do? Probably the best bet is just to remain silent. If that individual is truly a friend, he will come back or she will come back to you and say, you know what? I'm sorry for hanging up on you. I don't want to lose your friendship. I'll do something to address my temper or something. I mean, that's the perfect situation, right? So I think that sometimes it's just better to remain silent and see what happens. If it doesn't happen, then probably that friendship is not going to go very far. And maybe you can just end it with silence. It's a tough situation to be in. When people are in mediation, I'm always giving the lecture. If you go overboard with your temper and with your anger, you're going to lose your argument. Calm down prior to coming into mediation. Have some items that you want to talk about. Have some stuff you want to put on the table for discussion and negotiation. But never lose your temper. Because if you lose your temper, you're going to lose out on a whole bunch of things. And that is a peaceful resolution, because that's really what you want, right? You want to have whatever issue that is before the mediator to come out in a peaceful situation. Now, it's not always going to be a win-win situation, right? No, it doesn't happen that way. But it does happen where if you can feel balanced, if you can feel that it was a fair discussion, a fair argument, a fair negotiation, then you can walk away. Sometimes even friends. I have had some really cruel situations where people have come before me and they are pissed off. And they want to tell the other person off. But I have to curb in that anger, curb in that temper, and say, come on, let's just focus on the issue here. We need to resolve it. We need to solve it. It's how you discuss it. It's how you present your arguments. Not bringing up the past, not bringing up what has transpired in the prior life with this individual, the prior business relationship with this individual. It has to do with addressing the full issue and not going off into other tracks, but just addressing the issue, resolving the issue, and moving forward. Now, with friendships, it's a little bit complicated because you're not quite sure when that person lost their temper with you and hung up on you, you're not quite sure what to do after that. Silence is good. Not displaying any anger or emotion. But just see how it transpires. How will that individual approach the situation when they know what they did was wrong? How will they handle it? What is the maturity level or the professionalism level of that individual? It's a wait and see thing. But don't get mad. Don't get upset. Go on with your life. Keep focused on what you need to do. What you need to get done with your life. You invite them in as a friend. Now they have the ability to see whether or not if they want that friendship to continue. It's not up to you. Remain silent. Now, in mediation, when I have these two very angry people, sometimes I have to meet with them beforehand, privately. And I have to say, okay, what is your need out of this? What are you trying to get out of this? And how much anger do you have built up? Let's kind of release that anger. If you want to take it out on me as a mediator, take it out on me right now. Let it out. Spill your guts to me. Because when we go into mediation, we're going to be focused on what the issue is, what the problem is. A lot of us want to bring up the past and we want to say this person did that and said this and this is what happened, and it wasn't my fault. It was all his fault or her fault. We are funny human beings, I tell you, when it comes to these human emotions, this anger, these egos, these temperaments. But if you remain focused on what you want to achieve, if you remain focused on what type of a relationship or friendship you want with that individual, and address the problems as they come up in silence at the correct time, and not push it, but at the correct time, when both sides are ready to sit down and talk. Life is full of mediations. I tell you, we begin our day in mediation. All of you who have children, you begin your day in mediation. You do. You get up and you have to negotiate with them, trying to get them up, trying to get them dressed, trying to get them to wear the right clothes, trying to get them to have breakfast, trying to get them out to and there's a negotiation on what they want. They want to go to the baseball game. They want to go to the mall. They need to buy this. They need to do that. You are in this constant negotiation until they finally get out and on that bus or in that school. The negotiation ends. Now you can get to the real business negotiations of life. But we are all negotiators. And we are all, every single day of our life, resolving some type of issue through mediation. You guys are mediators out there. You may not know it, but you are, because you're handling a whole bunch of different things with your husband and your wife and your grandmother and your mom and your dad and your in-laws and your children and it goes on. It's all about that focus. What are the needs and what needs to be resolved and how to get on with life. I tell you, it's not an easy life. It's not this easy life of being a mediator, but you know what? You do it every day. You're a good negotiator. You negotiate with your children. You negotiate with your husband. You negotiate with your boss. You're negotiating all day long. Listen, if you want to have more access to me, go to my website, www.lodge-co.com. Again, that's www.lodge-co.com. Have a good day. Everybody is blessed. God is with you today, and He's going to make you some good decisions. Listen. Think before you talk. Negotiate well. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.